This is the story of the 99th floor. A story about why most people never make it. A story about the one who did. Which one are you?
In the middle of the city, there was a building. Not just any building. This one had no visible top. It stretched so far into the sky that the clouds swallowed it whole. Nobody knew exactly how tall it was. Nobody had ever seen the roof. But everyone, every single person in that city, knew one thing. At the top of that building was everything they had ever wanted: freedom, wealth, peace, the life they had always imagined but never lived. The only problem was that the elevator hadn't worked in years, and so the city gathered at the base of the building. Thousands of them, shoulder to shoulder, all staring up at something they couldn't even fully see. They talked about it constantly, at dinner tables, in coffee shops, late at night when the city got quiet. Everyone had a plan. Everyone had a dream. Everyone believed, truly believed, that one day they would make it to the top. But believing and climbing are two very different things. See, most people never even touched the door. They stood at the bottom running the numbers in their heads. 99 floors, no elevator, just stairs. They told themselves the timing wasn't right, that the stairs would be too crowded, that someone faster, stronger, smarter would get there first, that they'd start next week, next month, next year became the year after. The year after became a decade, and the building never moved. It just kept standing there, waiting. Most people spent their entire lives at the bottom of that building, not because they couldn't climb, but because they never decided to start. But one man walked through the crowd. He didn't stop to calculate, didn't stop to ask if the timing was right, didn't look around to see who else was going. He just walked to the door and pushed it open. Inside, he wasn't alone, not yet. A flood of people had come in behind him, excited, energized, talking about what they'd do when they reached the top, racing each other up the first few flights like it was a competition. The energy was electric. The beginning always feels that way. Floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. The crowd was loud, motivated, unstoppable. Floor 4, floor 5. The talking started to slow down. Floor 6, floor 7. The running became walking. Floor 8, floor 9. The walking became dragging. By floor 10, the stairwell had gone quiet. People were sitting on the steps, hands on their knees, heads down, breathing hard. Some were checking their phones. Some were looking back down at where they came from. Some had already started walking back. They told themselves they needed a rest, just 5 minutes. For most of them, that 5 minutes never ended.
They just stopped.
He stepped around them and kept climbing. He looked down once, just once. The ground floor was already a distant memory. The people who never entered the door. He could barely see them anymore. Tiny figures moving around at the bottom, still talking, still planning, still waiting for the right moment. He turned back up. There was only one direction that mattered. Floor 25 was different from floor 10. The people here had worked harder. They deserved more credit than the ones who quit at floor 10. They had pushed through the initial pain. They had shown up when it got hard. But somewhere between floor 20 and floor 25, the math started doing something dangerous. Their minds started calculating. If 25 floors felt this heavy, what would 50 feel like? What would 75 feel like? What would 99 feel like? The unknown above them felt bigger than the progress behind them. And so they turned around. Not because they were weak, but because they let the size of what remained blind them to the size of what they had already done. They went back down, and they told everyone who would listen that the tower was impossible. His legs were burning now. Every step cost something. The stairwell was quieter. The air felt thinner. There were no more voices echoing up from below. Just his breath, just his footsteps, just the next step. This is where most systems break down. Not at the beginning when the energy is high. Not at the end when the finish line is visible. Right here, in the middle, where progress feels invisible, where the top is still out of sight, where the bottom is too far to go back to. This is where the climb is truly won or lost. Not in the legs, in the mind. Floor 50, halfway. He stopped for a moment, not to quit, just to breathe. He looked down. The bottom was invisible now, swallowed by darkness and distance. Everything he had left behind, all of it, was somewhere far below him. He looked up. The top was still nowhere to be seen.
How far down is the bottom now?
He was completely alone. No crowd, no voices, no competition, just him and 49 floors of silence above him. Most people would call this the loneliest moment. He called it clarity, because for the first time since he entered that door, there was nobody left to compare himself to, nobody left to compete with, nobody left to distract him. Just the climb, pure and simple. By floor 75, the stairwell had changed. The lights were dimmer up here. The walls were dustier. Like this part of the building hadn't seen a human being in years. Maybe it hadn't. His footsteps echoed in a way they hadn't before, each step announcing itself, each step saying, "I am still here, I am still going. I have not stopped." Down below, far below, people were living comfortable lives on floor 60. They had climbed higher than most. They had built something real. They looked up sometimes and wondered what was above them, but not enough to find out. Comfort is the most seductive trap on the entire climb, because it doesn't feel like giving up. It feels like arriving. And then, floor 98. There was a man sitting against the wall, not lying down, not asleep, just sitting. Back against the wall, eyes open, staring at nothing. He had made it to floor 98. 98 floors. Further than almost every single person who had ever entered that door. Further than the ones who quit at 10. further than the ones who turn back at 25, further than the comfortable ones who stopped at 60. He had made it to floor 98, and he was sitting down. Just one floor from the top, one floor from everything he had ever climbed for. He didn't know how close he was. Nobody had ever told him. And the cruelest part of all is that he would spend the rest of his life one floor away from everything he ever wanted, without ever knowing it. Our climber looked at him for a long moment, said nothing. There was nothing to say.
One more floor. Just one more floor.
And he climbed. Floor 99, the last door. His hand was shaking when he reached for the handle. Not from fear, not from doubt, from everything it had taken to get here. Every floor, every burning step, every moment he had chosen to keep going when every part of him screamed to sit down. It was all right here, in this hand, on this handle. He pushed it open. The treasure wasn't gold, it wasn't money. It wasn't what most people imagined when they stood at the bottom looking up. It was the view, the absolute overwhelming clarity of seeing everything from the top. The city spread out below him like a living map. Thousands of tiny lights, thousands of tiny lives, all of them with the same door available to them, the same stairs, the same 99 floors. He could see them all from up here. The ones who never started, the ones who quit at 10, the ones who turned back at 25, the ones who got comfortable at 60, the one sitting on floor 98 right now, one floor away. Who would never know? And he understood something that cannot be taught at the bottom, cannot be explained, cannot be fully believed until you are standing exactly where he was standing. The climb was never about talent, never about being the fastest, never about being the strongest, never about the right timing or the right circumstances or being born into the right family. It was only ever about one thing, the decision, made over and over and over again, on every single floor, to take one more step. Most people are not standing at the bottom of your building because they can't climb. They are standing there because they never decided to start. And somewhere on those stairs right now, someone is sitting down on floor 98. The only question that matters is which one are you?